Have you ever wanted to color your world? Well, you can color your scrapbooking and your card making projects. That way you can make them match anything you want, especially if you have, a little piece of ribbon that you really want to use but can't find anything to match. Well, we've got the ticket for you.
Two of the new trends that we're seeing lately are feathers and chalkboard, and we're delighted to see that represented in our new ColorMe collections.
Right, and plus there's going to be some beautiful flowers. So lots of ideas, lots of ways to color them. Does that sound interesting? Come play with us. Well, here are the latest editions of ColorMe. We'll do the Cardtoppers separately, and we'll get started with the ColorMe papers.
The beautiful, fanciful feathers.
Right.
Papers.
And as you know, there's going to be ideas on the front and on the back, but we're going to show you those. And let me first show you the pages. The black that you're seeing is raised. Touch it with me. See, it's raised.
It's embossed.
And the white area is the paper. So the white is going to absorb whatever coloring agent, and we're going to show you lots of them.
Right.
And this has a border treatment. And one of the things I'm really loving about feathers is that they can go masculine or feminine.
Sure.
And with this one, you can really use it in any way. I'm going to, you can turn it this way, you can have it this way. So it really is non-directional, kind of different than butterflies that pretty much need to fly upright.
You can use it any way you like.
This is one of my favorites. This is called Fanciful Sparkles, but you can see and we'll see a scrapbook page that Teresa did using that. This is an all-over pattern, just quite beautiful.
And so this is just covered with that embossing and just little peaks of color out from there if you color it.
So it's going to be very striking with whatever color. Then a stripe, and what's fun about these is that you can cut them apart, you can use them in lots of ways, and this picks up the various designs and all the other sheets in this pack. This is a sampler pack, so it's one of each. And then, whoops, this is another border treatment going straight up the whole side. And again, you could use it at the top, you could use it at the bottom, you could use it at the side.
You can use part of it as a card. There's a card right there.
Excellent. And then, as always, there's a sheet of borders and labels and tags and additional art. So
super useful, and they match with the designs that you see on the papers.
So, okay, so enough about what it looks like. Let's see what we can do with it. Here's the first page, and actually Gail did this one, and you used a couple of coloring mediums.
Right. I used Dilutions in Concord Grape. That's one of our newer colors. And I also used fluid chalk ink in Concord, I think it's Concord, and Harvest. Oh, what did I call this? This is crushed grape. Okay, I wasn't sure if I said Concord.
I think you did. Okay, so it's purples and the golds.
And golds. And it's so easy to do ColorMe, especially with the sprays. You can just spray on and be done. You can sponge on really quickly. And kind of like to show you some of what I did with that.
Okay, great.
Okay, so I've got
the craft sheet.
The craft sheet is invaluable in this case. Here's the paper. And I started with the inks. Now we've got these. Fluid chalk ink doesn't usually look like this. These are the prototypes that they've sent us.
And thank you, ColorSnap.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
for
ClearSnap for sending that to us.
So here's the Harvest, and I've got my stylus with little foam applicator tips on the end. And I started up on the corner because I knew that I was going to have this big photo right in the center. And when I'm sponging on the ink, I like to try to start off the edge a little bit and sort of move on to the paper and get this area real quick. And you can add more and make it a little darker, or you can just kind of keep moving around and keep it kind of light.
The chalk inks are a combination of dyes and are different kinds of inks, and they're really kind of multi-purpose.
Right.
And it's a favorite around here.
So there I did that a little bit there, and around I actually went up around the feathers and sort of sponged in the center of them.
You know, I wouldn't have thought of sponging in a design as intricate as that is, but it worked, huh?
Well, see, it's like the design is already there because you've got that embossed part, so that's going to pop out anyway, so all you have to do is kind of highlight it and background it a little bit. And then I went around the edges like that.
How striking.
Yeah. It just makes it pop a little bit. And then I also went around a little bit around where I knew the edges of the photo were going to peek out. So
I think something else is that you're not fussing about it. You're just getting in there and coloring it, and letting it do its task.
Right.
So I think sometimes we overthink these things.
So that's a little bit of the inking process, and I did a little more than that, but I want to move on to what I did next. Was after I was done doing that.
Now, did you wipe it off at this point with a paper towel?
If you look at it, you don't really need to.
Oh, because the sponge has gone over it.
I don't think it's really necessary. You can if you feel that it makes a different appearance. I felt that it was fine just the way it was.
Okay.
So after that, I got out my Delusions, and I did end up spraying this a little bit on the page, but what I did first was I sprayed a little bit on the craft sheet, picked it up with a paintbrush, and did a little extra painting, like on the borders.
Now you did that to get what, a more concentrated color in that area?
Well, I wanted that actual stripe. If I had just sprayed it, it would spatter all over, and you wouldn't get that definitive look right there.
I don't think we've ever painted with Dilutions. I think this is a first, lady.
Oh, okay. Gosh, I think I've done it, but maybe we haven't done it on air.
Yeah, that could be.
So that sort of thing. And I also went in and colored the dots separately. Let me see if I'm getting it here. Some of the dots. I love the little dots that go around the feathers. It's a unique look.
And it adds the fancifulness to it, I think. Yeah.
So something
very
like
nice.
that.
Okay.
And then I sprayed it.
Okay.
Now, when you want to spray, Dilutions especially, there's Glimmer Mist and there's Dilutions. Glimmer Mist is a lot lighter. You're going to get a less of a saturated effect.
Okay.
Dilutions can really saturate whatever you do, so don't spray on the paper. Spray off of the paper and allow the overflow to get on there. So you can see the spatter. So if you look close, you can see a little bit of that.
Okay, just starting to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
We just want to get a little bit of the spattering around.
And I love those little droplets.
Yeah,
that's such a pretty look.
And I did that on opposing corners, so you can sort of direct where you... There you go.
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay, I'm going to bring back in the finished page, and it looks like you did more of the harvest, as I can see, going along. And then you came in with the labels and frames, and I can see that oval being colored just as you did, but then trimmed out. And also this little diamond, let's see, right here is right there. So that's a nice accent.
Yeah, the extra artwork. They're great to play with and then just foam tape on afterwards. And I did a little inking on the label here and around the oval label there.
Like you said, it does a great job of really taking care of that beautiful photograph and letting that work.
You know, what I like a lot about, especially about the fluid chalk inks, is matching the colors in your photo to the colors of your inks. So here she had this great gold and the reds in her hair, and it focuses on her perfectly.
Now Teresa has done a different look, and this is with a different product, right?
This is with gelatos.
Okay.
It's still with the feathers paper pack.
Right.
And there's that starry swirls. I don't remember what you called it.
Whatever it said on the packaging. I think fanciful sparkles or something like that.
Yeah, sparkles and swirls.
So she has done this pink and a tan, as well as kind of a neutral gold here.
A little bit of aqua in there even.
Is there?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can show you that if
Please
you're ready
do.
for it. Okay. Here is
And I'm
the
purposely
paper.
not going over on this side because we'll talk about those stamps later.
And she said she started by making vertical stripes. It looks to me, vertical. Kind of at an angle. I'm thinking it's more like diagonal. I'm going to start with the...
This is gelatos.
This is gelatos. This particular one is from the Tropicals set. So she used several different sets and just added some. I'm going to go at a diagonal angle here.
And the gelatos are kind of magic because you scribble them on, and if we can get in really tight into what you're doing, I'm going to move the sheet. It is not a precision coloring. It is more of a what? Just smattering, it's just smooshing it around.
Right. It's, you know, it feels a little bit like lipstick, if you know how that is. It's sort of waxy and it just kind of moves all over the place. This one that I just used, this butterscotch, is from the Neutral set. And now I've got Aqua Dolce from the 50s Diners set. So 3 different sets used.
And you're going to mix
so
them.
It seems like when you're doing it that it doesn't really, gosh, that doesn't look very pretty, does it?
Right, right.
But trust me, it'll all come together. A little bit of chocolate even. This is also from the Neutral
Actually,
set.
I do find that trust is important when teaching a project because, you know, it's like, what are you talking about? That's not wonderful. How did Teresa really do it? Well, we're here to show you.
Okay, so now I've got that all situated, and I'm going to grab a baby wipe.
Through the magic of baby wipes.
You can hear it coming out of the package as we speak. And baby wipes are the trick. Now, with gelatos, you want to start with the lighter colors and move out. In this case, I'm going to start up on the pink and not where that chocolate is, because the darker colors will override the others.
Okay.
And then I'm just going to start moving down.
And what is so neat is exactly what you just saw, is it moves them and covers the surface. And just, it's magic. That's all I can say.
Here I'm going to start with that pink and move it into the chocolate. I just really don't want the chocolate to override everything else.
Yeah.
And that's how things are mixed together.
Right. Beautifully done.
A little bit of work, a little bit of effort.
Very little, really.
I could have done that whole thing in just a couple more minutes and have that beautiful background.
And this is what Teresa did. And each time you're going to get a slightly different look, just depending on how you do that initial stroking. And you can see that Teresa, too, has used some of the labels and tags from the art sheet.
From the art sheet, and more gelatos around here. Just very, in a real random manner, and just sort of moved it around a little bit. It almost looks a little bit like pastel.
It does, doesn't it? What I like is that this is a scrapbook page about Annie. There's Annie and the alpacas. And so it's not something, you know, you're never going to find a paper that has alpacas. And but you can match, again, you can match the colors. You can really, you can scrapbook that memory and not have to say, well, there's nothing I can do with this one.
But what's interesting is that you can match animals from this new stamp set.
Nice segue. Wow, did you do that well. This is, Janie Dawson has been a favorite around here. Her artwork is just fresh and clean and charming.
Janie's Carousel Animal.
Right. This is an oversized sheet. It measures 8 inches square, and you can see all the Carousel animals. And Teresa found a perfect place to use them on this page.
Right. She stamped them on pattern paper, which looks to me like it's from the Stolen Moments paper pad.
Right.
She actually embossed them on with brown embossing powder, and it's just, it fits perfectly. There's some of the Carousel, and some of the new Embellies were used to embellish that.
This is also one of the strips from that striped paper. You know, we talked about you could cut them apart. So a nice introduction to not only the ColorMe feathers, but also to Janie's Carousel. So we're going to move into some cards using the ColorMe. Now this is the papers, and this is the same paper that Teresa used here. But look, quite a different look.
A big difference. Yeah.
And this is an all-over pattern, so it's easy to make into cards.
Sure, and it's just a little bit of effort to make this, not very much effort. I did this with fluid chalk ink and the stylus like we were just talking about, and I just sponged a little of this is one of the newer colors, it's called Splash.
Okay.
So I've got splash out on the corners and a little bit around the center, and I didn't do it right in the middle because I knew I was going to put this big medallion from the artwork right in the center.
I like how you layered the smaller pieces on it. And a nice thing to think of here is that you don't have to cover all of it. It's perfectly fine to leave some white. So that's a nice thing to remember also. And then on the inside, that border is getting a really nice treatment
and
with
going the opposite
way.
direction. Yeah, and that these are also some of the newer colors, Concord, and this one isn't newer, Dark Peony, So
Okay.
dark peony, splash, and concord.
And all of that will be in the gallery too. If we get in really close, just also there are some of the black jewel dazzles, and they do a really nice job going around those medallions.
It's
and
really easy to use the jewel dazzles, especially on this ColorMe paper pack, because it's just covered with little dots, so you have natural places to put them.
Excellent. Now, Teresa has done another thing, and this is the paper that we talked about that had so much black on it.
Right.
And this has got several things going on, as Teresa often does.
So it's colored with distress inks.
Okay.
Several of the different colors of distress inks, and they are just sponged on with an applicator. But we've also got some neat feathers going on.
Right,
here.
we do, and we alluded to this earlier in the week. There is the Feathers and Flourishes template by Gail, and this will just give you a taste of what this wonderful template can do. And it doesn't look like feathers. I mean, you kind of would expect to see a feather shape, but not so much. But what we have is this wonderful ability to make the layered feathers, and I just think they're striking.
I can show you real quickly.
Yes, please do.
So here's the template. And for each different, there are different feathers: an owl feather, pheasant feather, quail, and eagle. And then there are some other things down here, crests, that you can look at. But on these, each one tells you the size of paper that you're going to cut. We're using cardstock, or you can use paper. And for this one, she did a quail feather, and she said cut a medium size. Well, that's basically a number 2, so it's the medium size is the one right in the center. You take the size of paper it says to cut, a 3" by 5". You fold it down the center, and then you're going to place the fold right underneath that fold line on the template. So the template.
Let me get this out of your way.
Well, I don't know if you'll be able to see it otherwise. Yeah, that's
okay.
Yeah, it's better with it. So the template is going to sit, that fold line for the quail feather is going to sit right on the fold line there.
Just as it says.
Just as it says. And it tells you, it gives you real good directions on how to do this. I'm going to do the one in the middle because that's the one she used mostly on her card. So I just draw that line and remove it. Then we cut it out. And I've got my scissors over here, right along that line. And if you're cutting along the back, if you're going to be opening this up, then you won't see that pencil mark. Otherwise, go inside the pencil mark line or erase the pencil mark when you're done. So this is basically the feather without any cut work in it. So you can use it just like that, as a leaf or as a feather. Or you can cut little bits, about 1/16 of an inch apart. You can cut the little feather marks.
And that is called a feather cut, by the way, isn't it?
Yeah. You know, some people have scissors that
that have multiple.
That have multiple. Yeah. But you just continue down the line. You can cut these wider or thinner, however much time you want to take. I find that it's kind of relaxing to do it. If you were to make 3 of these feathers all at once, the 3 different sizes, and made them on paper, not on cardstock, you can stack the feathers together and make these little cut marks all at once.
Kind of do double duty there.
I'm being kind of careful. I could be quicker and be done quicker.
So why don't you go ahead and open it?
All right.
Not that watching you cut isn't exciting, but...
And when you open it up, it looks like that. And there's a couple of ways to do this. You can leave it like that, or you can take your thumb and fingers and sort of curl them.
Oh, I like them curled under like that.
Yeah, you can curl it under like that. That's pretty simple to do. Sort of like curling ribbon. They just,
with your fingers.
So that makes a nice little presentation.
I also like them ruffled, as you just did.
You can sort of mess them up a little bit. Or you can curl them up, and that's another way. And then a great thing is to stack these on top of each other to have multiple layers. So there's that. And then if you have another one,
that magically appears from your side. Is that how that happens?
I kind of forget that I cut it all up too. I probably could have. You can stack them on top of each other like that and have several layers together.
Okay, so it gives it much more depth. Nice. Well, Teresa's are offset and with the different sizes, so that works nicely. And she's done a slightly different color of cardstock each time, so that's nice. You know, I think I'd like to see this out of a micro dotted paper. Would be pretty. Speaking of quail.
They're beautiful on vellum too.
Oh, I bet. So it's a nice mix, an appropriate mix with our feather ColorMe. On the inside, oh my, she's got even more. And they've done a beautiful job of coordinating. And again, you can do the coloring as you want. Nice to bring in that bit of red.
Right, and there's the border strip of the ColorMe, and then one of those medallions set on top with a button right on the center. That's just a beautiful look.
And this is coming from the stamping of Fly High and Let Your Dreams Take Flight. That's out of the feather stamp, yes.
So these distress inks are very easy to put on just with a stylus, just in the other way that we applied the other one.
Okay, and here is, now we're going into the Cardtoppers. So let me bring in that set. So I'm going to scoot this out of the way. Now the Cardtoppers, if you are familiar with them, there are 8 pieces of Cardtoppers in the package. There are 3 designs, and you get 2 of each one. So that one, this, and this one. I love it when it curves.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful focal.
And then you get a sheet of these tags and labels. Now you get one set that is already has the messages in it, and then you get an extra piece of art. Then you get another one that is blank, so you can computer journal, you can stamp, you can handwrite, you can do whatever you want.
Put little pictures in the center of those if you want to.
You absolutely could. So that's what comes in the package. And then let's see some other ways of coloring.
This is just a beautiful marbled look. I love the different colors peeking out and mixing together on this one. It's just a gorgeous coloring topper. And here we have some of the large feather scrapbooking dazzles on here too.
Yes, and those come in a package like so, because it's scrapbooking, they tend to be larger. And we showed these day before yesterday or yesterday. And down here are all of the feathers. Again, they're in the silver. And this has 99 pieces. So it's kind of fun to combine these, just simple overlapping, and you can see how it's even going onto that label.
And they easily fit on the background as well as the foreground, and there's just lots of different feather shapes. Perfect with these papers.
And then on the inside, I see some coloring has been done onto the Dazzles.
They have. This is distress paint, which I'm actually going to show you how the front was done with distress paint, but this is just inked on with the distress paint as well.
I wouldn't have thought the paint would stick to the slick surface.
Yet there it is.
Son of a gun.
It turns a little bit powdery, but even after, but it's not coming off, so it works fine.
Excellent. Okay, so you're going to show us that?
I am. Not the Dazzles, but the card front.
Yeah, okay.
So you definitely need a craft sheet for this, and here's that card topper. Here are the distress paints that I was talking about. It's the Tim Holtz distress paints. I have
from Ranger.
I have peeled paint, broken china, and seedless preserves. And so here they are. Here's my card topper, but I'm not going to put it on the card. I'm going to put it on the craft sheet. And you just want to pounce it around. You don't need very much of this.
Okay, good to know.
And you don't need to mix them together. I think I'll put them in a few different areas now that I'm remembering what I'm doing.
Okay.
And a little bit.
And you're not, it's not saturated. You're just dabbing it.
It's sitting on top, and I'm just barely moving it around. You don't need very much. It's a very muted look. Now comes the water. You just spritz on the water, quite a bit of it.
Okay.
Because you really want to tone it down. And then here comes the card topper.
And you're just smooshing that.
Smoosh it on there. Pick it up. Smoosh it on another way.
Wow. So you get that watercolor look. That's really gorgeous.
I am gonna sort of take some of it off too with a paper towel. And there you go, card topper.
Wow.
Ready to go.
That is amazing.
Well, after it dries.
After it dries. Now, like the gelatos that we just showed, you are going to get different looks each time. Of course you are.
Yeah.
But we call that around here happy accidents
Right.
because you never quite know what you're going to have.
And if you have any white left, you can just dip it back in there. You notice I never
Right.
had to add any more paint.
Right.
I just put the paper back into that solution. And you could do a couple of them at once. You get a few of them
Sure,
done. And
sure. Very, very fun. Okay, now we have another look, and this is using a product that we did a webisode on, several months ago.
Right. It's
And-
the turquoise precious stone paint kit.
Right, and this comes in a set. This is from the Tattered Angels folks, and there are 4 bottles, and you layer them one upon the other.
Right, and the instructions are real clear on that. In fact, they have pictorial instructions, one after the other, so the steps are real easy to follow.
And you can see the silver that's in there also.
Right. And it's just a matter of spattering things on and spraying it on, and then you just let it sit and it's done.
And again, you just follow the directions, trust them, and move forward, and you'll have a look like this.
If you need more, we actually did a webisode on this,
Yeah,
so
right.
you can look back through the archives and find them.
Right. And Teresa has added the butterfly dazzles. And then on the inside, more of the same. Now, this is fun, where she took one of the other card toppers and used it on the inside.
Oh, that's
and
neat.
how striking that is along the fold.
Right.
Just beautiful.
And there's one of the labels ready to go.
Right. So, my goodness, we've used gelatos, we've used the precious stone, we've used distress paints.
Distress paints, distress
Inks and then chalk paint. So anything that you have, you can use. We're not done. We have one more in the feathers, and it's this one, and I see some misting.
Yes, definitely misting with glimmer mist, and there's some work done with Spectrum Noir too.
Ah, great.
So I have one of the other card toppers. I used a different one to show this technique, but I've started with some of the Spectrum Noir pens. This is from the turquoise and the purples set. And so I just went through and very quickly colored some of the areas that I wanted to hit
And
around the edges.
what Spectrum Noir, they come in sets of 6 and bicolor, and this happens to be the purples, and so that works nicely.
That works nicely.
Plus the price is great.
Also, you can get them in larger sets, and we might show you one of those later.
Okay.
And so I've got my craft sheet out. That's important. I've already done my Spectrum Noir pen work, and I've got a Dragonfly Glimmer Mist. One thing I want to remind you of is that when you're shaking this, don't shake up and down like that. Shake side to side. That comes right from the manufacturers.
Right.
So that those little sparkles won't clog up your little tip there.
Right.
So you do that, it's ready to go, and then you just spray it again off the paper. So you're going to get, see, right away I hit the paper, and it's real dark. So if you don't want that darkness, you really have to be able to. And the higher you go, the lighter the mist is. So there we go.
Okay.
see
And
that.
again, you can see that spattering, which is what the glimmer mists are so well known for.
The further away you get, the less spatter or spray you're going to get, and the lighter look you're going to have, if that's what you're going for.
And then if you're using that, you do want to take the paper towel and just wipe off the surface. So you can see that what a great effect these two colors have on this particular one, and it just is beautiful. And taking
beautiful.
one of the labels, putting it there.
Just adding a little bit of Spectrum Noir with a glimmer mist.
And this one doesn't have an inside, so I can't show it to you. So we're going to quickly move on to another card topper. This is the Chalkboard. We talked about feathers and Chalkboard being very popular trends, especially going into 2014. So this is a very different look for our card toppers, but same idea. You're going to get 8 sheets, sending you sunshine, love, and happiness. What a very welcome phrase that would be. Wishing you an amazing day. And a lot of black, so that's going to be very striking.
That's your chalkboard effect.
Yeah.
There's lots of black on it.
And you make life very special.
So these are ready to go. You don't even have to cut out the edges on these to do anything special.
They really are. And then here are the labels with the greetings. And then everything is very uplifting, very positive, very sweet. And then the blank ones so that you can do your own now.
Your own stamping, your own journaling.
Exactly, just whatever you want. Now this is just neat. Teresa has added the encrusted jewels, and this is the red set from our friends at Stampendous. And as we get in, you can just see the beauty of those.
Isn't that beautiful? This is on the Robin's Red paper pack, so you're getting that red on there. But also the Spectrum Noir pens were used all over this area.
Right.
And left a little bit of white so that you can really
just
see
a bit.
the edge pop.
And Teresa does that so well, so it's nice. And then she's done one of her classic bows treatments.
With one of our gumdrop buttons.
Right. But again, having those encrusted jewels at opposite corners just does the ticket. And then the same thing on the inside, so keeping that same technique.
This is interesting. Well, now, I hadn't noticed this before, but now that I see it, I see that she put the label down, she glued it in place, and then she must have Versamarked it around the edges and did all the encrusted jewels. So she didn't do it separately and then place it. She did it right on the card.
And that way she let the encrusted jewels kind of trail off rather than being a short,
It's like it's embedded in there, covered up.
It's
beautiful.
It is just beautiful. Now I thought it would be fun to see this very same card topper, and we'll back up just a little bit, in a different method. And so here's an example where you can go ahead and color it in, and with 2 colors, so here's 1 color, 2 colors, and certainly you can go for more.
And again, that's the Spectrum Noir pens. What I like about this is if you look closely, especially at the word happiness down here, I think she used the same color of pen. She just went over it a couple of times on the left side of all the letters to make it a little bit darker.
So she's got the shadow on the left and then kind of going with it lighter on the right. Very pretty.
Nice technique.
It is a nice technique. Now here is another of the 3, and this is just very classic. Isn't it?
This is done in metallic, so this is the metallic distress paints, which are, those are again from Ranger, and those are brushed pewter and tarnished brass, and they just have this really glimmering metallic look.
And you can get some wonderful techniques with those. Are you going to show us something?
Just a little bit.
Okay.
Because I want to show you how she moved this around on the paper. So you have to shake these up really well before you use them. There's a little shaker bottle, shaker doohickey inside that moves
Technical
it around.
term. You might want to make note of that, doohickey.
Absolutely. And so she started with this right on the center. You just pounce a little bit around, and then move it around this way. And she wanted it all the way up to the edges. So once she put that on there, instead of using the sponge applicator, which might go over where she wanted to go, Teresa used her finger. And it's liquidy enough that you can just sort of move it around into those areas that you want.
You know, I love the comment that your finger is the tool that's always with you.
So just move that around a little. With this, with the distress paints, you do want to wipe them off.
Yeah.
Afterwards, so I'm doing a little bit of that, and it sort of almost wipes it into the areas that you want to go. And then she used the brushed pewter out on the edges.
Okay.
Just do that a little bit on the edge. Clean finger to wipe it around a little bit.
Okay.
And wipe it off.
And that's a more subtle look. Let's scoot that up a little bit. There you go.
The silver's there.
Yeah. Very striking. Now she's also accented with the new charm dazzle. So you can see the wish, the key, the heart is on a jump ring, and just does a really nice job.
This is beautiful. I believe that she put in some distress ink inside there
you think she did?
Painted it in a little bit to get that gold.
I would not be surprised.
Every one of these little charm dazzles you get 2 of, so that you can place them back to back, so that they don't stick on anything else. They are individual. We've been using these on jewelry and all kinds of things.
And it's nice to see it as an accent and a flat accent. So there's the gold pearl and the silver pearl, and Teresa used the silver pearl on this one.
So like I say, there's 2 images of each so that you can place them back to back, mirror images.
94 pieces in that. And on the inside of our card, I also, just one more thing on the front, is adding a bit of ribbon just does such a finishing touch.
It does. And it's, for us, it's real particular about which ribbon we pick. You know, this one just fits it perfectly.
It
Another one
does.
might just be off a little bit. So.
And then on the inside, she has gone back to the Carousel horses.
This is great. And that's the tiger that's been embossed on gold specialty paper.
Right, and it's been matted on silver specialty.
And here the tag, she's used the distress paint to silver it.
So you can see that the silver paper, really, that silver paint does a nice job.
Yeah, it looks almost the same.
It works really well. Now, we have one more card topper set, and this is called Floral Zen. And you can see it kind of has that quality.
It has the Zen quality.
It does. Now, here are these flowers. So very intricate, but the intricacy has already been done for you, so you get to do the coloring.
Right. So, and the fun part of this is you can either color in detail or you can just sponge overall.
Right. So here is a paisley. Isn't that, I love it. It's a really fat paisley. I think that's fun. 2 cards of that. And then this one, which of course can go vertically or horizontally. And then the tags with words.
Which are really fun because some of the fonts used in here is just, it's fun. They're just different.
That's nice.
Yeah, I like the look.
Good to point out. And then the one that is blank. So you can use that. And let's bring in the first one.
Just beautiful.
Isn't that?
With Spectrum Noir highlighting all of the little areas, the small detailed areas.
So fun coloring, and then going in darker, doing a second layer to get that shadowing in the center of the flowers. You can see that's been done on all of them.
What I like about this, the coloring and the flowers, they match this paper pack perfectly. This is the Simply Susan paper pack.
It is beautiful on the gray, really, really pretty. And so this card topper was colored and then cut out and foam taped onto the Simply Susan gray. And then on the inside, more of the Simply Susan, but adding just 2 of those tags.
Right, just a little bit of pen work here with the Spectrum Noir, and here's that floral paper that matches the ColorMe so well.
From the Simply Susan. In fact, that was the, the ideas that we wanted to see it in a card topper. Now, here it is horizontally. Here it is vertically, and I think it's fun to be able to see that versatility.
Oh, sure.
And, it's kind of like, okay, where do I put the greeting? Well, with the card toppers, you can just tuck it on the side, and you can see both of these do a nice example.
Right. There are small messages. There are a little bit larger messages you can use. I love the corners here, which is the corner
cutting die.
Corner cutting die.
It is, and this has been done out of the black suede, so you can see how striking it is, and it's deep, deep black, which perfectly accents the ColorMe.
The embossing, right?
It does.
Just
Best
beautiful.
Friends Till the End, just simply done. I mean, just coloring in, and again, not coloring in every single part of it.
Right, leaving a lot of white can be very striking.
And look on the inside, so that's one of the ones you were talking about, the fun font.
The fun font. And here's I love the corner die cuts here are placed this way. It makes it look like they're continuing like a frame all the way around.
And that cutting die is limited to quantities on hand, but it is just by itself, so it's an inexpensive one.
Right.
Now, our last one, we're going to take a peek back at our Carousel horse, and we're going to give him a home and rest him next to the Floral Zen card topper.
Just beautiful. I like this color combination of the Spectrum Noir pens. I'm pretty sure this was out of the Pastels set.
Okay.
So you can get a whole set.
And that's going to be a set like this, that's going to be a big set, a 24 set. So
you have a lot to choose from.
And sometimes people have asked, the ones that are in the sets of 6, are they duplicated in the big sets? No, they're not. No. You need to buy them all. That's just, how it goes.
And it's true. You'll find pens in the large set that you won't find in the smaller
You
sets.
will. And so it's your choice. this. But I thought it was fun how she kind of rested this little guy in there, and again, did not color everything. So that's a nice piece to remember. She's added some pearls at the top.
A little bit of Teresa ribbon.
Teresa ribbon,
here,
yes.
And the matting is so beautiful.
Just very nicely done. And on the inside, how fun, we get the idea of the carousel. So we have a variety of animals, and look, this is high, low, and down even further. So we get that movement.
So the stamping that comes from the Janie's circus animals.
You make my world go round. You're right.
On that tag.
That's all from it. So very fun. So Teresa, thank you once again. You have given us lots of ideas, and I think well, I don't know if we've done every coloring agent in the world, but we've tried.
And you can definitely color your world with it. And we'll see you tomorrow.